This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So does anybody want to remind me what the key outstanding issues were? And then, of course, we can run through it. But I'd like for this to serve also as kind of a, if you will, a final review by Dan. Dan and everybody else, I think I've communicated to you that because of GDPR, which I assume you know, it's a sort of the data protection standard that was initiated by the Europeans and that we've adopted, really means that we're not to handle any proprietary information, even though we've signed the NDA. So just to make things more expeditious, John Kassar is going to help, and Julie are going to help with the data import. And the final import of the data into the production application. All right, so we're relieved of that, but that should be fairly straightforward. There's some issues with implementing contacts. The accounts were fine, no problem implementing that, but the contacts, I think there were maybe some data normalization issues or stuff like that Julie was going to take a look at. So that should be fairly straightforward. Let's see, the other things I had were, let's see, I don't think we had anything really normal. A lot of the stuff was sort of, I would say, not cosmetic so much, but, a few little things broken here and there. I think we had something about constraining the employer lookup options based on the job title. I don't know if you had any success with that. Security roles, Robert was going to look into that, plus triggering form based on contact type, record type. Let's see what else. Okay, I think oh yeah, and Sarita was going to look at the icons. And I see John has just joined us. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning.
So anyway, these are some of the things I had. Does anybody else have anything to add that I may have lost in that data incident I had?
John, this is Robert.
Okay.
I looked into kind of like displaying a form based on contact type, but I talked to Julie a little bit about it too, but it seems like I was trying to get the developer tools, right? Like the software development kit for 365. So it's like not an easy thing to do. Using security roles, I think, is the best approach. It's like an out-of-the-box approach that is easy enough to understand. So like whoever the end user is, if they want someone to only see a specific form, they can just change their security role or put them on a different team or security role, really.
All right. Well, let's leave that for now because, again, fortunately, I guess for getting this thing finally done, at least this project as defined, we don't really need to worry about that until Carol starts, coming into this. Now, one question I have for Dan is the extent to which veteran information is displayed in connection with the employer, role that you have in your team. So, for example, we've got job postings, which is great, but then we go to applications in which the candidate's name is displayed here. Is that something that has any value? But more importantly, is that something that it's okay for you to see? And if so, would you be constrained from getting more information? In other words, clicking on John Johnson here and getting this information, which presumably resides exclusively in Carol's domain. I mean, I don't know. I guess one way to deal with it, I'll just kind of stop right there, is to say if we go to a job posting, we can still show applications, but we won't show the candidate name, the candidate information. Then you still can see, how many applications there were, the date applied, how far they got in those applications for those job postings, related to that particular account, the test company. So that's the question I have for you, Dan.
I think it would be fine to the extent that I don't need to go to their profile. So if I could see their name on that main page, but I just can't click on it and go into their profile, that would be fine.
So because I think where this would be really one use case where it would be valuable is where you go to training sites and can sort of see applications. Oh yeah, this is not a good example, but the last one showed the names here. Presumably on your view or on your form, you could show actually the cohort also, right? The candidate and the cohort, so that you can tie it back to the training site and how recent that cohort was. I'm imagining, and again, this is not in the scope of this one, but I'm imagining that would be one reason to have the candidate name, and certainly if not the candidate name, at least the cohort that he or she was part of.
Yeah, that'd definitely be valuable for me especially because a lot of companies, they reach out to people, and it'd be good for me to say, okay, well, these Colorado Springs jobs, I have people applying to them from Florida. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not only the Fort Carson cohort that's going to apply for these jobs, or it would be valuable information for me to know who they are and what site they're at. But I think what I need to not have any access to is just their address and, all that stuff, which I'm not sure that that's really pertinent information for anyone else to have on Karen's team.
So I just want to make sure this is working. Yeah, okay, now we have 3. Oh, okay, I did this twice. Anyway, it is working. I just added one, and it did add it to the active training sites. So okay, that sounds good. And again, that's something that with your new skills, you should be able to implement, as the admin. But I think it's worth, surfacing that as a potential benefit now rather than later. So, because it's easy to put that all in place now, in an early stage. So that's really all I had. And I thought maybe what we could do is run through the app. But I wanted John Kassar, you may have some things to say, and I want to give you a chance to weigh in before we kind of just go through this app one last time.
Yeah, you can. I don't have anything to say. I haven't looked at it, so if you guys want to walk me through it, that'd be great. Or we can, or I can look at it on my own. Either way, if you've got specific things that are open issues.
The intention of Wednesday was to sort of do more or less the cleanup kinds of stuff. I do notice here that we still have, so for example, the icons, and that was something Sarita was going to look to. Sarita, could you sort of tell us what you were able to find, and maybe that's something that if you got stumped, we can help with.
Okay, with the icons, there was different ways that I could put them on there, but it seems like the most the best and the best way to put them on there was to go and to create some of the new web resources. One for the job postings, one for the job applications, and one for the training sites, and create those 3 in the Power Apps. And once that's done, I can load the icons to each. Right now, I have to get the icons to, I have to minimize the size to about 10, I believe it's 10 kilobytes, because right now the icon is too large and it won't accept it. So as long as I just have to make it a smaller size, and then after that, we should be fine. After that, you just have to make sure that those entities have the checkbox on the entity, their properties, stating that it is it can show the image. So.
Okay. Well, so it sounds like you figured out how to make it happen. At this point, it's just a matter of minimizing the size down
That's
to the
right.
required. Okay, well that's good. Do you want to show us what icons you recommend? Do you have copies of those, and maybe Dan could comment on that?
I have an app that I can show you where I downloaded a few of those
Can you show us those if
icons.
I give you the
Uh,
presenter view? Could you show us what?
I'm about to pull it up on my desktop. I haven't didn't connect to the meeting through my desktop yet, but I'm connecting right now. So it'll just a
Oh,
minute.
oh right, yeah. Okay, I'll wait till you get that connected, and maybe you can then pull it up. And who knows? Certainly, I can help you offline with how to minimize that icon so it fits. I deal with that all the time, so that's no big deal. But maybe if you have a library of icons, and Dan could comment on it, and we can basically finalize that. Good. So yeah, let me know when you're ready for me to transfer this, and I will. Anybody else before we sort of go through this at kind of a high level, just to sort of pace through it and make sure there's no major outstanding bugs? All right. That's the kind of response I like to hear. Okay. Now, this, as you know, this does have the actual, okay, desktop view has arrived. Okay, Sarita, I'm going to give you Sarita desktop view. Okay. You now have the thing. Actually, wait a minute. I'm going to pull this back and wait till, well, wait a minute. If you have the icons ready, then the desktop is yours. Let's do that, and then we can just go through this whole thing.
Okay, just a second.
Hey, can you quickly show us where you would upload it to? I don't know if you mentioned that yet. I didn't see it.
Okay, this is the way I went about it. I just went to the Power Apps. Okay, so the first thing I did is I scroll down here to web resources. And so the role restricted tabs was already there, but I can't view what icons were already on there if there were any. So I just went ahead and created the field, the job app icon, and the job postings icon, and a training site icon. And this is in the SVG format. So I'll click on it so you can get a look at what it looks like. It takes several steps to accomplish this. I thought it was going to be real quick and easy, but it's several steps to get these icons on here. Okay, so this is where this is what it looks like. I named it, have a display name, description, and right here is I chose the vector format from doing my research. It seems like that would be the best choice as far as the type of image. And this is where I upload the file, but my file was too large. So and
So
also
what is
to
it?
each.
Do you have a picture
Yes.
that you can show us? I don't see a picture. If I was supposed to see that, I didn't
Okay.
see it.
Now this is
Ah,
Sync
okay.
Fusion, and I downloaded this. And from what I understand, it's one of the best apps to use to download your pictures. I created a context icon, Job app and some others
So,
also.
Sarita, this is John. You won't need
Yes.
a contacts icon. You can use the ones that are native in Dynamics, I think.
Hmm.
I mean, again, going back to what Julie said, you want to keep as much stock as possible, including the contacts, which I think has a decent icon. Also, in the icons you selected, that was great. Can you change the color, meaning have a white background with just a blue um,
Outline.
outline? Yeah, exactly.
I believe so, but I would have to do it from here if I
Okay,
wanted to change the
because the reason
icon.
because the reason being is that's the way it's set up right now currently. So if you have a black icon, all of a sudden it's going to like stand out completely in the app.
Yes, because right here is where it has just a black background. But if I change it to this one, it's clear. It's a clear
Ah,
background.
okay.
Um, yes, so
Yeah,
yeah,
so see what
I could do
you
a
can
lot
do.
Learning
of.
more about graphic design than you thought. That happens, by the way.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, that's great. So basically, you were able to find how to insert or how to replace and again, what John's referring to are the placeholders here for job postings, job applications. Something that reflects a little bit, it's a little more recognizable as being, relating to that function. Do you have some examples of those that you thought might work that you can just show us, and then we can work with fitting them in. But Victor, did you get what you needed? Was Sarita, was she able to answer your question?
I guess from the entity, then you'd be able to pick from the web resources. Is that how that works?
Yes, you will have to choose the web resources. So if I go here to, let's just choose one of the entities, say like job postings. And what I also had to do for each one, I had to create a field, the entity image field. And then I went to, let's see, actually, I can go to forms.
So while you're doing that, Sarita, I think I
Hmm.
don't know about SVG or the vector graphic, but I do know that vector graphics are really data intensive, right? Because they're very
Yes.
flexible, and you don't really need that. You absolutely can make it a GIF or a JPEG. Either
Hmm.
one of those is going to be well under that 10K limit. These are very, very simple graphics, and GIF and JPEGs are both formats that are ideal for these simple graphics. So that may be part of the issue. I don't know, but if you can save it as a GIF or a JPEG, you'll be in good shape.
Okay, yes, I'll do that. And also, I wanted to point out for each entity, you have to make sure that you click the show image in the form.
There you go. Okay.
Yes, make sure you do that also. Um, let's see. So then, I had to create that entity image field so that this can come up. And see, right now you'll see it says icon field job posting.
Okay, and you actually now that is
And
a
now you
choice
can
where
update it.
yeah, and that wasn't there before, I don't
That's
think.
correct. Hmm.
Oh.
Yes, I had to create those fields in order for this to come up. And once I load get the right size of the icon to place in there, I can go to, I click on that update icon, go to the Unified Interface tab, and this is the current published tab. This is the current published,
Right, okay.
picture image. Now, these images, I can select from any of these. However, I don't know what they look like. There is, it would have made the process so much easier.
That's okay. Now that's okay. Somebody's got some work to do here, but
Yes.
yeah.
And so when you when you click on down here, go back to look for more records. Now the web resources that I created, you will find those in here. They're in here somewhere. They're in here. And so I would click on that, but the problem is my image is too large. And so once I get it to the right size, I'll be able to choose it from here.
Well, here's what I would recommend you do. Pick out some images, and maybe while we're talking, you can find some that you can actually show us, and then Dan can comment on, we're really looking for 3 images, right? Job postings, job applications, and training sites. And if you want to just sort of browse while we're doing this, and then later in the session, just present, 2 or 3 options to Dan or whatever of stuff you can show, and then I'll work with you to figure out how to size it correctly so that it fits. How about that?
Okay. Yes, that'll work.
Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, this is yeah.
So Rita, how did you get that to where you picked? Did you click update icons? How did you get to that?
Yes, I went to the say for instance, job postings and that's all I did was just click on it. It's the same thing for job application. I just clicked on that and update icons is there.
Okay, and then you click on
sites.
Update icons.
Yes, it has the update icons for training sites also.
What's this where it says primary image? Where it says primary image below a little bit? What does that do for you?
This is the web resources that I created in the web resource areas. And it's also, I believe it's tied to, let's see, the field. It may be the field also. I'm not really sure, but
okay.
Right here, training sites icon. And you go to training sites, and here we go, training sites icon. That's the entity image field that I created. And and I had to create that so that I can get this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yep.
So
cool.
guys, I just put something, the link that I put in the chat session just now, that's a link to just a general search on job postings icons. And if you want to go ahead and Sarita, if you want to click on that, you can see there's a lot more icons, and maybe Dan, you'd like to take a look and pick from this, but we can use these just as easily as any of the ones that are available in the Microsoft resources, is my point. And some of them, yeah, there you go. Some of them look like they might fit if you go right, just really simple icons, like whatever fits, right?
Yes.
And then you could do the same thing too for the others. It's just the keywords are icon, but then you could do training site icon and job application icon and.
Yeah, but the big thing is, once again, if you're looking at all these, they've got lots of colors. The standard icons do not. They're basically just the outline against the background. So I want to be clear on that too.
Yeah, we can make them. Yeah. No, it's really easy matter to remove the color and make them more like wireframe looks, but like compatible with what's already there, right? Yes, guys, I have to break for just a second. I've been on hold here for half an hour, and I just need to verify some information. I'll be right back. I'm just going to mute, and if you want to continue, please do.
Okay, does anyone have any more questions or would like for me to switch the presenter to someone else?
I actually, this is Robert. I have a question. So
yes.
It sounds like, I don't know, while you were describing it, it sounds like you may not kind of know an answer, but the field, right? I don't understand. So I've added web resources before. The one that was already there is one I added, and it seemed pretty intuitive, like pretty straightforward. Add the web resource, and then when you're selecting from that kind of drop down list of resources, it was in that list. With the icons, seems like when you click update icons, it has a web resource list, but the actual icon that you uploaded won't appear in that list unless you add a field on a form. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, yes. If you look, I'll see if I can pull it up because it was under, it was in one of our training labs online. Then I caught that I saw that on there. If I could find it, I pull it up, I would, but I don't know which one it is. I think it's the one that says additional. Let's see.
Was it through EDX, the ones that were listed on the Vets to Work page, or was it through like some of the supplemental learning ones?
It
Forget which
was
site
on
they're on.
the Microsoft Learning. It was called additional options, I believe. And I
Okay.
posted
Yep.
it in the chat room.
Did you? I did. I saw your post. I didn't read it very thoroughly. No, I'm just trying to understand. Like, I don't. Like I said, I don't know if you would know this. I wouldn't. But like, why do you have to add a field? That seems kind of weird. Like when you update the icon for the entity, like you click update icons and you select the entity. It seems weird that you would have to add a field on a form in the entity to do that.
Okay, this is the lab that I was referring to, I believe. Okay.
Okay.
I think
201.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure they'll hold me to that, but I think this is the one I was referring to when I was first looking right here and trying to get these apps downloaded, but I couldn't use this because I would have had to have permanently changed the account, and I didn't want to do that. But there was
Oh
a
yeah, I got okay. I'm tracking. Yeah, yeah.
mhm.
That was uh, tough to wrap my head around there, but I think it's a bit clearer now. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and once I find that document, I'll share it with you. That where it says you have to create entity icons field
Yeah,
to
no,
update your icons.
yep,
Hmm.
I know exactly where to go to get it. But yeah, if anybody else has the same kind of questions I do, then for sure.
In the chat too, I just put a link over to an icon library that I don't know if they're the right size or not, but they're really basic ones.
Okay, thank you.
In the chat. Oh yeah. Okay. Good. Good. Let's see here.
You can search, you can keyword search through that as well.
Okay. Now
Okay,
I'm gonna
got it.
basically send. I don't know how to do that. Yeah, I'll send it to you, Sarita, because you have the means to add it. But I just copied one of the icons that is really consistent with the look and feel of the others, and it's 590 bytes. So it's like 5%. It's tiny.
Hmm.
And you should be able to, well, you can use it right off the bat, but it's just, while we were doing this, I did one and I'll send it to you in an email. So you should be getting it here pretty soon. And then maybe
Okay.
if
Yes.
you want to upload it, great. But it would be just a good exercise in, and yes, you're right. You have to store the image in an accessible file before you can add it, right? Because the application has to be able to access that image. You can't just sort of paste it in, right? So it's a kind of a two-step process. Well, three if you're doing what I just did. Okay, let me just, okay, Sarita. And I'm just going to add it as an attachment. Okay, yeah, so let's, good. Was that helpful for everybody? It was for me.
Yeah, I think I found a quicker way to add the icon though. Um, but
Okay, well,
it still struggles with it has to be the right size and so on.
well, why don't I just resend and I'll copy everybody if you want to play with it. Well, it's the idea here is basically taking an icon from any source, grabbing it and using it. right? That's kind of what I have in mind here, and just.
But it
Yeah,
has to become a web resource. Is that that's undoubtedly so?
I
It's
don't
from my
know.
understanding, yes, it has to be a web resource if we're adding the icon. We have
Yeah,
to create it too. Yeah.
oh, sorry. Yeah, but I think that there's a lot of different ways to do it. Like I said, I started, like Julie pointed me in the direction of some like developer tools, which you can do a whole lot more with, but can't seem to connect it to our app for whatever reason. But you don't have to, from what I can tell. But I mean, it's probably the best way to do it.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah,
That
it's
might make sense. That there's a couple. Like I said before, Microsoft usually gives you 3 ways to do things, just to make sure that it's everybody's style is met. But anyway, nope, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah, and this one that Dan sent along is got a lot of icons that are much more, they sort of match the look and feel, and so that's good too. And they look to be, that they're all well within the size range, right? Yeah. So Dan, if you want to search and if you're partial to some icons, I mean, it's your application. It's you who this is going to serve. So if you've got some that you like, just forward them. And I guess, Sarita, can you, I guess you could, implement them. And by the way, the graphic I sent was in a GIF format. I changed it to a GIF format, and that's what got it down to less than 1 kilobyte.
Okay, I received it. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, good. A good little bit of info to know. Shall we continue on to the go through the app? Okay, I may be called away here.
Okay, I can
Yeah,
go
I'm
ahead and
looking at a
stop. I can stop sharing if you like.
Okay. I have to break away here for a minute or two. Sorry. Just does somebody want to just kind of run through the app? Let's see, maybe Sarita,
that'd
why
be
don't you
great.
take?
Please.
If you could just start with sample code, because that has the richest set of variables or data to help to sort of demo the app as it is. And let me. There's 16 minutes to wait. So. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, we're still on hold here, so I don't have to go away just yet, but I will in evidently 16 minutes. Okay. So yeah, Sarita, why don't you if you can just take us through it? There's no reason for me to do that, and then or Dan, maybe you could. Why don't I give you the screen? Do you have? I think that actually would be good because that way you can experience it from the user perspective.
that'll work. I'm actually
right.
kind of I've been running through it, and there's a few things that I wanted to point out as well.
Okay. Dan Shoemate. Okay, you are now the presenter. You have the presenting role.
Let's see.
You'll have to click on the accept.
You should be sharing
There
now.
you go. Okay, now I can see it.
Okay, cool. So let's see. So we have accounts here. If I go into ABC Co, we're discussing. So we have name primary. Something that I've noticed is that if I create a new account here, and then All right, so let's see. If I create a new account, let's see. I'll just fill this stuff out as I go. Right. So if I leave that blank, say there. All right, so we can move that blank. So something I noticed here is that if I were to create a contact, and so this is going to be, so it's kind of going back and forth. I guess what it seems like when you create contacts is it just leaves off whichever one you created last, because I was creating employer contacts in here, and then I created a veteran contact last time, and then it brings a candidate contact this time as I go to create a new one.
Is that a quick create issue, John?
You know, that's a great question. So do me a favor, click on, before you do this, click on the plus sign at the top. Create a, close out of this, whatever you're in, because it's like you're halfway through this. Just go to an account record or something that's, or unsave the changes. That's fine. Okay, cool. So click on contact. This is, if you notice, this is generic here, and it does not have, you do not have to put an employer in, but it does require some of this stuff, but it does require a contact type. So this is probably the better way to create contacts right here. Because if you'll
Actually,
notice, you don't,
John,
yeah.
I've been working on contacts. I updated the quick create forms, so
Yep.
you should be able to select a quick create form for a candidate, or, well, I created two quick create forms, one for candidate and one for employer. Looks like, I don't know why, when Dan first clicked the plus sign, it said account or contact for quick create. I have some theories, but I haven't tested them yet. But essentially, the quick create for contact, I created two forms, but haven't really tested them yet. So
Yeah,
the idea
I
is,
don't know if you can, yeah, I don't know if you could create a, off the plus, off the main navigation, I don't know if you can add another quick create there to say candidate contact versus
well, I
employer
think
contact.
Go to
it's not
Dan.
going to be. I'm sorry. Let me just finish, because it's not going to be like an option, right? It'll present the quick create form based on security role that's assigned to the user. So right now, it's presenting the employer quick create form.
Okay.
So that's how I think it'll work, but testing security roles is tricky. I've locked myself out a few times, so I haven't really done it in the sandbox environment much yet.
Well, you know, it'd be
So
interesting here, and what you can do is if you do the quick create for the contact up here, up there, if you could change this quick create form, this would be actually very appropriate. In the employer, how it says employer there, you can change the label there and then put in the label for employer in parentheses, if applicable. You know what I mean? Because then if you're creating a veteran contact, it wouldn't apply. So do you understand what I'm saying on the form itself?
Oh, yeah. So it's just there's two quick create forms, and
No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is on this quick create form for contact, which is generic, when Dan pressed on the plus button, in the label that says employer that we're looking at right now, if you could change the label to say employer, open parentheses, if applicable, close parentheses. So this way, anyone creating contacts in the database will know that if this is a veteran record, it's not going to be appropriate that they're going to put an employer in. It's just very simple.
Oh yeah, no, but the like a veteran contact, there's branch of service, service status. So that's kind of, like I
Oh,
I
said,
think
that
I think
yeah,
we're I think John is planning for us to go back then into the more detailed view and up, right, John? You just want a quick create here, and then you could go to it and add the other information.
yes, but because I understand, Robert, what you're saying, but for whatever reason, I do not know. So you created two quick create forms based upon roles. So the real question is, will that change when you press the plus button on the main navigation menu? And I don't know if it will. So my point is, if it
yeah,
doesn't,
yeah, of course. Yeah, I see
that's all I'm
exactly
saying.
what you're saying. Yep, just have it, put it in the user's hands essentially. But yeah, I think it will. I know the main forms do. For example, when Dan could choose which form shows, if he was on a specific team or had a specific security role, he would only be able to see whatever form was kind of assigned to that team or role. He wouldn't have the
Dan,
option. So
do me a favor, Dan. Go to account. Go to an account. Any account. Now go to contacts. Yeah, and then press new. See what happens. Add new contact. Okay, now over here, see how it pre-fills the employer, right? So
Right,
that's
because
one way.
yeah.
That's one way to create an account that is related automatically to that employer. Now, right? So it's a done deal. So that might be how you want to do it to make sure that, well, it saves you work, right? Because it's obviously related to that employer, but it pre-fills the related field.
I
And this
like
brings up,
that.
if you just saw when I created that as well, I set that person as primary contact, but they don't show up here as primary.
Right, and it's not basically you have to do the lookup because it's not, we haven't really I don't know, we haven't programmed that in. I realize that, and so yes, you do have to designate the primary contact by way of a lookup from the account, right? But
Okay.
once that is the case, what I would suggest is that if, in other words, in the related list, the contacts, so go ahead and click on contacts again. Okay, so here we shouldn't really have to click on it. I think it should be just a checkbox if that field is, I'm not sure how you do that, some sort of business rule or something, but if the field, if that person is designated in the field, in the account field as a primary contact, then the checkbox would be active. I don't know, John, do you have any ideas about that? But
No,
I think
I don't. I would
yeah.
ask Julie on that one.
Okay, because otherwise maybe we get rid of primary, because you don't want to be in a position where it's not automatic, right? You just want to have a definitive process for identifying that primary contact. Right now, the only way we know how to do that is by filling in that field with the lookup from, using a lookup field in the main contact record form in the summary part, right?
So let me see. Can I set this person as primary too?
Well, I think we're assuming that for each account it's a one-to-one.
Mm-hmm.
It's
But
not a
it is
one-to-many.
an option to pick, and then it kind of does this. And so something I was noticing too is that if I were to go into this account and he's the primary contact here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, I add something to the timeline. I had a phone call. Subject, I don't know. And then, it's going to start storming. All right, so I saved that. Now, when I go back into here. Okay, So the phone call shows, but if I just enter notes or something like that on that contact, it doesn't show. But I hadn't messed with the phone call before, so it is good that that's showing up.
Yeah, the notes really are what I think of as ready reference, and the notes don't change depending on what kind of contact you had with that person. So,
Okay.
guy has 4 kids, loves to barbecue, whatever you want to put in there, just real personal stuff, or what his issues are, what his, concerns are with that company, things you want to keep in mind anytime you talk to him.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, and I was looking for if it shows, that it was a phone call and who it was with here. Is that something that's typical, or does it just say, phone call from me, doesn't say who it was with? Is there more info on this somewhere?
did you click the 3 dots, Dan?
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm just kind of messing with this as I plan on using it, and I wanted to make sure, so I'm glad the phone calls show up. Let's see, what else did I have? So when we go to training sites here, I was kind of confused on this one as far as the students area. So if I have contacts here, so what is the students one, I guess, essentially? Do I need to create something new and individually add these contacts, or?
My thought was that we would have the current or most recent cohort, only those students. In other words, current or most recent students, and that would be a list of maybe 15, right? It would be a reasonably short list.
Yeah, classes go up to like 30 people.
Okay, 30 then, right? But you would see basically, in other words, the resume release date, those people that are within that window, or however you want to define it, but it's out of scope for this project, but it can easily be, programmed.
Question for you. So we've already got some of this here. Is there a reason students is blank, by the way? Nothing showing up?
Yeah, because it hasn't been, we haven't really configured for it to show the students in the appropriate cohort that should belong on that list. It's just it's a placeholder, really.
Okay. So the other question
and it's out of scope. Again, it's not in scope of this project. So, but it's something that I'm not sure if Dan, you maybe mentioned that would have value at some point. So.
Yeah, definitely, just to know who's in the cohorts, and that's excuse me, that's something I can mess with later. But when I pull up contacts, let's see, it's the same list either way, and it doesn't say what type of contact they are anywhere, so I would have to kind of click through and figure out which one's which if it's just names there.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually noticed the same thing. John, if you don't mind, I can kind of shed some light on this.
Great.
Yeah, so I don't think there's a way to change how that kind of side main menu works without really kind of digging in behind the scenes here. So I was exploring some alternate kind of styling. So essentially, there'd only be one contacts selection, and again, security roles would limit which contacts somebody sees or which views they have and which information is displayed. So, like the 2 different teams, they would each of them would only see one contacts kind of button on the left, but they would both see whatever information they're supposed to see when they click it. And it's working in the development environment.
Okay, cool. Let's see. So
yeah, it seems to me, there ought to be a differentiation that, in other words, the list that you see or the view that you see when you click on the contacts under the employer section would be the view, employer contacts only, and that would be determined by contact type, which is a value that you enter when you create the contact. So, I would think, right?
And just to point that out, because we were talking about creating new contacts here, it's not required to put a contact type as you make this.
It probably ought to be.
Oh,
Don't you
yeah,
think?
there you go. Oh, absolutely. Yep, good catch.
Yeah, no, that's a good catch.
Okay, cool.
Uh,
And I'm just, because I'm just kind of picking through it as I go.
and by the way, if you're creating a contact, Dan, what I would recommend is that you set the default. It's required, but in your case, the default should be employer contact. When Carol
Right.
gets around to using it, then the default should be candidate.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and if we could separate that by user permissions, then that'd be great. And then so summary. So I was just kind of messing with this, and I went through job postings. This all is working great. You know, you go in here. I thought.
Go to sample. Go to sample co. Click on accounts over on the left, and then click on the S down below. On the S, yeah, there you go. And then, whoa. Huh. Oh, okay. Yeah, all accounts. There you go. Yeah, sample co. That's got enough data to kind of work with this.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So we have a few people in there. Job postings. So and it's working good. I know I looked in contacts, and then you can go to a contact and go to their postings in related, and it'll actually bring up the correct one if you were in that account and did a posting. So
Yeah, good.
All this is working well. So these would be veteran contacts, right? These are people that applied to these postings.
Yes. Yeah. Anybody, again, referrals if you like, but yeah, they applied, and you see that at least one of them was hired.
Right. Yeah, and then it has the stage that they're in as well.
Right.
Let's see. Where did you add that information? So where?
Well, that's going to be in the application itself. So if you go ahead and click on click anywhere except for on the candidate name, double click in that application. So you can go to the application. Just go ahead and click on that. Now you're going to go to the application entity, the record in the application entity, and that's where you can change the stage and whatnot.
Okay, I see.
So, right, cool.
Yeah. Nice. And this all saves automatically, right? So once I change that,
yes. Well, I'm sorry. I assume it does. John, does it save automatically?
So it saves every 30 seconds in the background while you are on the record, or if you navigate to another record.
Okay.
Cool. So yes.
So, okay, yeah, the other one I work with says, are you sure you want to leave without saving? So it makes you save it.
Well, that's if you were in the process of creating a record, not editing a record.
Ah, okay. All right, that's good to know. That's actually nice, really.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, it all sounds pretty straightforward, and it seems to be working well. You know, essentially what I'm going to be using it for is all good and functional. It's just the little things of like creating an account, or if you create a contact, it brings up basically the last type that you were creating, and then you have to decide whether it's an employer or a veteran. But you know, for the most part, I'm just going to be in here creating a company.
And by the way, Dan, that last part that you just mentioned is probably default action in the application, so probably cannot be changed. But if you are always creating a contact, you can always create it from the plus above if it's going to be a veteran contact.
Yeah, and I can just select it. And like, you know, like I said, this stuff I'll keep in mind as I do it. It's just once this site is active, there's up to maybe there might even be 20 people. You know, each site manager can access their own site, and the admin people on the operations team. And so I just look for all the little things that people can not pay attention to and come in here and mess everything up. So
okay, do me a favor, Dan, because I may have missed this. Can you go to one of the records, one of the account records that has a fair amount of records? And by the way, one of the ways you can do it is if you look at the top left, there's a drop down where it says recent, by the way. There you go. So if you go to Sample Co, I think it has a bunch of records. I just want to see the job let's see the contacts.
John B. Reynolds. John B.
Okay, great. And then if you can go to the job postings. And John, you may need to mute yourself, John Reynolds. Okay, so let me just look here. Consultant, okay, opening number for employer contact. Great, okay, let's look at the job. So click on Consultant 2, which might have some job applications associated with it.
Be a record or it doesn't matter?
Right there. Yeah, right there. Okay, cool. Let's click on applications. Okay, there we go. Great. Click on Susan Jones, please. This is stuff I would normally be doing just to make sure it's all here. Employer contact. So you may need, so that still needs to be addressed. So at the top there.
Security roles. Security roles will take care of that.
That's interesting.
This actually is an employer contact, right? Because employer Tesco, recruiter.
Yeah. So
maybe somebody
this may have been bad test data. Somebody made
probably was. So random. let's go to a let's click on contacts for a moment on the left. And now we have my active contacts. Hit the drop down at the top, please. Okay, so we've got candidate contacts and we've got employer contacts. So let's click on candidate contacts. So just to let you know that we have that there as well.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to look at Genghis Khan, for example, and at the top where it says employer he's associated with an employer as well. Let's go back. I don't know why.
I think it just brings that up because if I were, let's see. So he's on an employer. I mean, either way, it goes to the same contacts. If I go to veteran 1, this one's coming up as an employer too, but this is with the candidate. Now, but I think since I'm leaving off on candidate, now let me try to go back and go to Genghis Khan again.
No, Genghis Khan truly has a. This is probably bad data because if
now it pulls a candidate contact, but I didn't switch it on here. I switched on the last one. Then I came back.
Yeah, I understand, Dan. John, he's showing that it defaults to the last one that he selected.
That is correct. Yeah, and that's native unless you have some of the security roles set up, which Julie's helping on that one. So
I can do that right now if you want. I have the roles created.
It's not when I create something though. I went into veteran 1. It was an employer. I changed it to candidate. And when I left Genghis Khan, it was employer. But when I came back after going to candidate on veteran 1, now Genghis Khan was already a candidate. So it's whatever I looked at last, not even whatever I created last.
That is correct, and that's native action in the application itself, unless we set up the appropriate security roles. But you have administrative rights, Dan, which is why it's not acting that way. But what we do need to do is someone on the team needs to test if they're a part of your team, Dan, or part of Carol's team, and see what happens. You just need to log in and test it that way. So do me a favor, click on job referrals. Right there,
So just to double check on that, so because I'll have admin rights overall, when I'm in here looking at companies and then somebody asks me about a student and I go in and take a look at that student, it's going to pull them up as an employer every time?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. I just have to keep that.
Unless we change your role, or unless you have another email account that we can use for you that you will have to log in separately for anything administratively.
Okay.
Yeah. So one
You're
observation
special, Dan.
here.
That's the problem. You're special.
Too special.
So now, in addition to your mom, we have one other person who will claim that. That one observation here. does anybody want to weigh in with what should be changed on this view?
This person's. So
Okay,
is
what's
it
the
gonna,
I saw that, John, but I don't know if this is, so you're talking about this subgrid. It's redundant that if you're sitting on the contact, it's got Genghis Khan and then it has candidate field in the grid.
bingo? Yeah. Okay. Very
one.
good.
That's one. What else?
That's one. And then there's a couple of other things that
I'm just good for one on Friday, John. Somebody else.
All right. I promise I won't tell prospective employers that you said that.
I'm guessing the actual post title, the job title applied to, the company applied at.
There you
That
go.
would be correct.
That is what that's what completes the application or job referral, right? That's a complete body of information is, what company, what job, when they applied, what stage they're at, and the stage change date. And if you want to have the date of hire, Dan, that's up to you. But in fact, you would have it if it's hired and then you hired at, basically you have that stage change date, then you've got that information already. So you might want to get rid of that just for simplicity. But yeah, I would add those. I think, so maybe, I don't know, maybe Victor, you might want to push yourself on this Friday and see if you can, do that, just get rid of that candidate column and add the other two. We're going to want to see if those work anyway, right? But
I'll get to that. I can do that right now. Which two, the job itself and which other?
Yeah, the job and the employer.
Yep.
Right. Because you're going to have a lot of consultant jobs, and obviously that's not enough. You're going to want to have it's consultant with this employer. And no employer is going to have the same job title for different jobs. You might have them, by the way, there may be two instances. Why? Of the same job in the same company.
Yeah, and you might want to have the date of the job posting as well.
Well, in this case, you're really talking about an application, not the job posting.
Yeah,
right?
but you're making references. You're making references to the job posting and the employer. Might be interesting to know. I don't know. It saves one step. It saves one step than going back to the job if someone wanted to see it.
Well, you might want to see how old the job posting is. If it's 6 months old and they're only now getting an interview, that tells you, I mean, and again, Dan, this is up to you, but John is suggesting that there may be value in adding that. That there's always a trade-off. I mean, you don't want to throw everything at a list like this. You want to have it be really concise and yet still valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to, honestly, if they're on here with this participant view, the candidate view, I'll probably just be clicking in the profile and looking over everything because I want to see their location, their graduation date, all that stuff along with it. And so if I'm looking at someone specific, it's probably because the company said, hey, I haven't heard from this person, or, something like that. Right.
And you want to say, okay, they got an interview, and the interview was June 2nd, and nothing has happened from the employer. You might want to get back to the employer and say, hey, you know what, it's been a month and a half,
right? And
this guy hadn't heard from you. So same, both directions. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and so I mean, for all this stuff, everything seems to be working as far as how I'm going to use it. And this area, the candidate profiles and the job referrals, this is still up and coming. So I'm, there's still kind of work to do on my end to really know how we're going to integrate that. So there's not a lot of testing I can do as far as this part goes. And so for the accounts and contacts, I think everything's there and seems to be working well. Just any of the little the contact settings here and making sure that this type is required and stuff like that. it's kind of minor stuff, but I don't know. Are you thinking of anything that I might be missing, or?
No. I think you're good, including and the one of the things that we don't have, Dan,
Mhm.
is I can't remember. I'll have to look through my emails. You sent me a user list, right?
Yeah, it was just all I sent you was my team. It's just 4 people.
So on those 4, oh, that's right. But they don't take, but they're all only dealing with employers. So we don't have Carol's team, which means Carol's team is in charge of the training, or is your team in charge of the training at the different locations?
Carol's team is.
Okay.
Yep.
So I don't have to set up any security around them. And your team, all of them should see everyone's employer records, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I don't have to worry about the training centers, and people in the training centers should only see their own stuff. We don't have to worry about that now until Carol's ready.
Right, yeah, exactly. The stuff that's going to go on the veteran side, the training side, they just don't really need to get into the employer records and be able to modify anything. And then, my team, really, there's no reason for us to be looking into the contacts other than, all this information is kind of the stuff I think Carol's worried about, the address and all that stuff. So, excuse me, the name and training site are the primary things. And that was the only other thing I didn't notice in here for candidates is the training site.
Go to MSSA, Dan.
Okay.
Okay, so you over at MSSA over there, cohort ID.
Okay, got it. And so when we put them, and that was something for the sites, it has a cohort ID, but so like Fort Carson, the site ID is going to be FC, and we talked about that changing as the cohorts change over or whatever the case may be. But is that, are those going to weigh on each other in any way, or is that just something that I can put in as I create these?
John, I'm not. I think I understood the question. In which case, I don't know the answer.
We have FC5 for this person because that's Fort Carson's 5th cohort.
Yeah, or you might want to create, something consistent like FC-005 or, something that fits with future needs to do some data analysis, something like that. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's really a concatenation of 2 fields. I don't know.
So you know what? Let's let Carol decide when she's ready.
Okay,
let's put this aside.
Yeah.
Well, I basically, Dan, I'm not saying that your comment's not important. My concern is I want to get you up and running sooner rather than later. So, and create some value for you. So Carol will be responsible for that because she'll have some of her own thoughts.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
I'm anxious to see you actually using this because you'll come up with your own, your own value adds.
Right.
That's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it because that's what I was doing as I was just going through here is kind of treating it like I'm using it and creating companies, and then that's why that I put notes, but nothing came up. If I put a note on a contact, it didn't come up on the company, but the phone call does, so that's good. So they are linked there.
So, well, good. I'm pleased that you feel this is going to be, something you can use going forward. Should we identify the last threads that need to be tied up, and then we'll commit to doing that, and then maybe we can finally move this over into production, right, John?
Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, tiny threads, I don't know about you, but I do fixes at the margin in production. I always have, and I know that's probably you guys should probably close your ears because that's probably not best practice, but it's just kind of it's just me and our application, and it tends to work most of the time. But in this case, John, I'm assuming you'd say that even some more like cosmetic changes, adding a field here or there, or maybe doing that level of modification, would that be something that Dan should feel safe in doing once he's in production?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. Okay. So what I see is, kind of going through this is, from the, I guess from the left-hand side going forward, we want the icons, and how do we, Sarita, do you want to pick out a few icons and or ideas and send them to Dan, or Dan, do you already know what you'd like?
I don't have anything, direct in mind. I mean, I can, for job postings, we could do, something like this. And then for job applications, we could do a resume. Just some basic, it doesn't need to be anything extraordinary. Just
something that looks different enough from the others so you can instantly differentiate it. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I'm fine with.
That looks good. Yes, I can do that. I'll send you what I have.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, just go ahead and implement it then. If Dan, if those are the two icons you like, why not? Just let's do that. And then the training sites, maybe that's the way to go. Just go ahead and, Dan, you seem to be pretty flexible on what goes in there. If you agree, I would invite Sarita, just use her best judgment. Go ahead and put in there what she feels works.
Yeah, I think, excuse me, I think that'll be fine. Like John said, it's going to be Carol's side, and she probably will have her own ideas on it. So no need to really, kind of dwell on that area. I really would like to get it in production and start using it. And then something that I'm really looking forward to, and hopefully, I don't know, we talked about training for this, but things like setting up automated emails or doing outreach through here. Is that something that's easy enough, or how's the training portion going to go?
Yeah, so what I think we should do is, and I'll work this with John. John, I'm going to, actually what I'd ask that you do, and this is actually good for everyone on the phone, is there's generally no, how's the best way to say it, generic training. Generally, it's all around training that we do for a customer, meaning we put together a custom training agenda for everyone. So what I would ask the team to do, and this is just part of your learning, and by the way, this is exactly, I'm not trying to pass the buck, this is exactly what I did as a consultant. I would put together a training agenda knowing what you know about Dan and the business and the requirements that he has around how you want to train them. So a couple of ideas, okay? Logging in, sounds basic, but got to give them the URLs, for example. Basic navigation, meaning the top bar is the navigation, the sidebar is the navigation, where do they end up going, okay? How to look up records. So I'm literally starting to tell you exactly how the agenda should be laid out, and that will drive exactly how to train in a day in the life that Dan is asking for. So I'm going to suggest that, I don't know who wants to volunteer to do that, but again, this is not technical work, but it's something that is done by a consultant all the time. Don't anyone speak at once.
I'd be happy to. I don't. I think, did someone remove me as a user? I can't access the sandbox, saying I'm not a member of the organization.
Huh? No, I didn't. I didn't remove you.
It was me after John Reynolds made that your mom comment. I just started removing people out of here.
Well, serves me right. Okay. Well, are you on the MSSASB CRM? site?
Yeah, I mean, I was logged in and went to make a change. That thing happened where it logged me out. When I tried to get back in, saying not a member of the organization, cleared cookies, cleared cache, cleared stored app data, still says the same thing. So I don't know if you, we can see if I'm on the user list if you go to the security settings and users and see what security roles I have.
Talking about me doing
Oh yeah, whoever is presenting, it's the gear icon at the top right there, and then advanced settings. And this is also where you'd set up kind of security roles to kind of limit what information an end user can see. And then settings at the very top between 365 and business management.
settings or drop down.
It's drop down. Yep. And under system, it says security right under administration.
Users
And
or
click on users there, that first one. And okay, yeah, there I am. It's right between Sarita and Reynolds. I click on my username there, Robert Farrell. And once at the very top, the command bar, it says manage roles right under the Git apps. Yep, there you go. Click on that and scroll down on this list here. Keep scrolling. I think everyone was assigned the salesperson role. No, I still have the right roles, but you can see under System Customizer, see where it says Veteran Contact Liaison. There's one for employer as well. They can be attached to forms. So, for example, if you click on a contact name, you should only be able to see contacts of a specific type, and then when you click on the name, it'll show you the specific form.
Okay.
So I guess I'll try a different browser or something on my end. I'm not sure why it keeps bouncing me.
Okay.
You know, Robert, I'm not sure if this is related, but the last two times I tried to make a change, and now I tried to make a change for that one subgrid to take off candidate and to add the job and the employer. I could appear to do the work, but when I publish it, it doesn't get published. So I don't know what changed on my end. I've been using Google Chrome, and everything worked until about Monday, I believe.
Yeah, I had a similar issue yesterday. I was updating the employer, right? So we renamed the account entity employer. I renamed the fields employer, and for some reason, whenever I ran the app, it would still say account. And I'm using Edge. I'm using the dev version of Edge, which runs on Chromium. So it may be something with the browser. So I'll certainly try a new one. But yeah, it's unexpected behavior, but so far nothing too bad, except now I can't access the environment at all. So I'll have to figure that one out for sure.
Uh, John, I know you, and Dan, I know you want those changes for that grid made. John Reynolds, could we ask somebody else if we want to get that done immediately to make those couple of changes? I don't know if Sarita can get to it, but I have to get off the call here shortly, first of all. Then secondly, like I said, I think my privileges are have been changed somehow.
What changes are you referring to? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
If you go to the candidate, if you go to contacts and then the candidate contact form, if you go to the job referrals subgrid on that form, you just have to take off the candidate field and add the job posting field, the employer field, and the created.
Oh wait, hold on. sorry to interrupt, but she's not going to be able to. So before I got logged off, those two security roles we just saw, well, the veteran liaison security role, and then there's an employer liaison security role. I attached those to the candidate and employer forms, but didn't publish. So I'm guessing when you tried to add those views, you published, and it may have attached those roles to the forms. So no one's going to be able to see them until the roles are taken off the forms or someone is assigned those roles. And right now, no one is assigned those roles. Or wait, no, Dan Tremonte is assigned the employer form role. So he can see the employer forms, but no one else can see the other forms.
I'm gonna have to jump off, but thanks everybody, and I'm looking forward. Are we going to connect again next week on this, John?
Well, I think, I was hoping this would be it, but I think we should probably have a Monday session with the intention that this will be sort of a final check through. Does that work for everybody?
Yes, it works for me.
Yes,
Yep.
Yeah,
that's fine.
right now should be
Uploading
all
the
right.
icon. That'd be uploading the icons as well as at this point getting security in, and then the other thing that's missing, and Robert, working with Julie on this, the LinkedIn needs to be in there as well.
Right, the
Yep.
LinkedIn.
As soon as I can get in.
And look, let's be just so that we're not kind of forever doing stuff at the edges. This is not part of the scope, so it's a really nice to have. We'd like to deliver it, and we still will, but I don't want this to stand in the way of signing off on the project.
Yeah, the LinkedIn can come in later, but I mean, definitely it would be good to get that in.
Yeah, that would be a real nice thing to have, and I'd like to see that. So is that something, Robert, you'll take on?
I tried it. I still can't get in the environment. I don't know if it's at the environment administration level, but I tried in Firefox and it's still saying I'm not a member of the organization. So I can't seem to access the environment at all for some reason.
Okay, I mean, I'm not the last resort, but I really want you guys to get the learning from doing this stuff. Ultimately, though, we owe it to Dan to just wrap this thing up. So do what you can, and let's check in on Monday and make sure that we've got everything pretty much as or beyond expectations. Let's see, I think there was only one. Let's see, one other thing. Yeah, because I lost the data. There was one other thing I had, but let's. I'll think of it and I'll maybe work on it or send something out to everybody. Dan, if you're still on, well, I think this is we pretty much, this is out of scope. I'm not going to worry about that. Okay. Any final things? I know, Dan, you got to run, but let's just reconvene on Monday and let's strive to have this thing buttoned up. And
okay, yeah, sounds good. Thanks again, everyone.
Okay, guys, thanks a lot. Good progress. And our next thing is going to basically get you guys in front of some employers. All right, I'll be working with Julie and Gus on that, and maybe I think John is going to help out with that. Dan's going to help out, and certainly I will too. So we can maybe make part of our Monday call about that. All right. Hey, thanks. I'm going to log off and have a good weekend.
Okay, take care.
Okay, you too. Have a good weekend.
I'll post what I'm seeing when I try to log into the environment on the forums, and if anybody has any ideas, just shoot me an email or respond to that post.
All right. Hey,
Yep,
thanks. Thanks for your persistence. All right. See you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody have a good weekend.